significance of Christ's crucifixion. That's the topic for today, all right? So let's get right into it. Now remember, Exodus chapter 20 tells us that we have to return, let me rephrase that. Exodus chapter 20, verse 12 tells us that we have to honor our ancient foremothers and forefathers, okay? So when you examine that, that not only involves following the contract that we have with the Most High, which is at its essence natural law, that will require a total shift in our consciousness, a total shift in our way of thinking. You guys understand me? Complete shift in it. So this is why Christ's crucifixion is so important. Okay, now I'm not talking about the mythology of the Christ. That's absolutely not what I'm talking about. Christ, the mythological deity, never existed in human form. All right? I think I've demonstrated that well enough up until this point. I'm talking about the astrotheology of it. All right? In other words, the initial and original meaning of the Gospels and the Christ figure. Again, the Christ, for those of you who may be new, Christ is the Son, all right? The Son. JC, the Christ figure, originally is nothing more than the Son, all right? Not a Son deity, but just the Son, period, okay? Nothing more. So let's get into the cultural significance. So Christ crucified is culturally important to us as Genesis chapter 2, Adam, Moors, House of Yasharallah, etc., because our ancient ancestors accounted for time. We accounted for time based upon the sun. All right, based upon the sun. Y'all see I have an injury right here. I was walking down the street, not paying attention, and bumped my head on a sign. So in Asia, everybody's so much smaller. Everything is so much short. I used to wear a baseball hat, so because I would bump my head, but I stopped doing it. I think I'm gonna go get another hat or something so that I won't bump my head again. You know, it's really dangerous when you hit your head on a piece of metal. You put yourself at risk for some really nasty infections, okay? Or, you know, rusty nail, rusty piece of metal, tetanus and all of that can be really, really nasty. But anyway, let me get back to it. So this is important because we have to return to the ways, lifestyle, principles, and values of our ancient ancestors. Some people may say, well, how? That's impossible. We weren't there. No, it's very possible because nature has not changed. Let me rephrase that. Nature has not changed. Nature has not changed. Okay? So all you have to do is pay attention to it, sit back in silence. That's it. You can sit back at night, or you can sit back and watch the sun go down, watch it come up. If you do that through the course of a year, you can see the constellations. You know, if you're in an area where that's possible, where there's not a lot of pollution blocking the view, right? You can actually see the sun as it enters into each constellation. So here we go, back into the discussion. Our ancestors accounted for time according to which constellation the sun was in. So we go back to what JC, the Christ figure, said, in my Father's abode, there are many mansions. There are 12 mansions to be exact. I think there are a total of 43 or 48 constellations. Y'all check it, y'all Google it. But there may be more, you know, I don't know. There may be more, but maybe there are less. But this is just what I've seen. So get back to it. There are 12 mansions. Now, the picture I use as the thumbnail gives the meaning of temple. Gives the meaning of temple in Greek. All right. So, if you go through that, maybe I'll paste a picture of the page where this information is at about the Greek meaning of temple. I'll put it on my Facebook, Yasapa, Y-A-S-A-P-A, Y-A-S-A-P-A. All right, I'll put it on my Facebook page, and then you all can download the picture, or you can just click on the free PDF in the description area of this video, and you can download the Devil's Pulpit. That's where I'm getting this information from, all right? So let's get back to it. Nature doesn't change, it hasn't changed. Our ancestors accounted for time based upon which constellation the sun is in, all right? And natural phenomena. So what do we see? What do we see? Christ said, in my Father's house there are many abodes. There are 12 of them, to be exact. 12 zodiacs, right? 12 zodiacs. Remember? Zodiac, path. The sun enters, passes through, or passes within, and then exits. 12 constellations every 365 days. 2 of these constellations are radically different in terms of natural phenomena than the other 10. 2 are radically different than the other 10. In fact, during those 10 constellations, well, within those 10 constellations, there is injustice, unrighteousness. There is injustice, unrighteousness, inequity, evil, imbalance, unevenness. During these 10 constellations, or when the sun passes through those 10 constellations. All right? Now, correlate that to natural phenomena. I got to get up and walk. Y'all here? It seems like every time I try to do a live video, there's a distraction. Let me put my walking shoes on. I don't know if y'all can hear it, but it's distracting to me. All right. So let me just walk around. I'm gonna turn the camera the other way. All right, so y'all can enjoy the park here near the place where I'm living at. All right. All right, so let's get back to it. That unevenness, that injustice is happening or is present through 10 of the zodiac constellations. So that would be equivalent to what? 10 months of the year. 10 months of the year, there is injustice, unevenness, unrighteousness, unequalness, wickedness, unrighteousness, etc., 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 happening on the planet. Okay? Now, Christ crucified occurs. Those of you who've been following me, and especially scholars in Zion Law School, you guys already know this. When the sun is ascending upward, ascending northward, from December, when it's at its lowest point, between December 22nd and 23rd, it begins to ascend northward. And then, sometime around March 21st, 22nd, it changes each year. The sun will be at exactly 0 degrees. 0 degrees, meaning it is exactly on the line of the equator, the celestial equator, which is a projection. a projection of Earth's equator into space. Okay? It is exactly at 0 degrees. Christ crucified occurs when the sun crosses the celestial equator. So, hello, how are you, ma'am? When the sun crosses the celestial equator, that means that the sun will be greater than 0 degrees. In other words, it will be moving above the celestial equator. Now Christ is crucified. The sun crosses the equator. Therefore, the sun is now in the Lamb, the constellation of the Lamb. This is the temple of the Lord. Y'all got it? The sun is now in the constellation of the Lamb, which is the temple of the Lord. Let's clarify something before we go further. The temple has nothing to do with a religious building. Absolutely nothing to do with the religious building at all. So going back to the Greek meaning of temple, when you go and do your research on the Greek meaning of temple, remember, I'll post that page where you can get the author's writings on the meaning of the Greek word used here for temple. Let me see what it is. It's, what is the word here? Well, I'll post it because I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it correctly. All right. But you'll get it. It simply means a group. It means a group, a collection, a constellation. That's what it means. Y'all got that? A group, a collection, a group of stars, a collection of stars, a constellation. This is what the temple means. This is what Jeremiah meant when he said the temple of the Lord. The temple of the Lord. He said it, what, maybe 3 times, right? He's speaking astrologically. The temple of the Lord. The sun is in the constellation of the Lamb. Y'all got that? The sun is in the constellation of the Lamb. This occurs in March. This is called the vernal equinox or the spring equinox. So what's significant about the spring equinox? It is radically different, scholars, Moors, Yasharala. It is radically different in terms of what's happening on planet Earth. And here's why. And here's why Christ's crucifixion matters. Its cultural significance and what we have to return to as a people, a must. No ifs, ands, or buts. A must. All right. Now, I've always told the scholars at Zion Law School that the New Testament has value. It has value. And so now I'm going to point out that value. During the 12 months, the sun ascends and it descends. Okay, it ascends and it descends during its orbit. Based upon its ascension, it determines the number of daylight hours. Based upon its descension, it determines the number of nighttime hours. Hence, there are 10 months of unevenness, of inequity, of imbalance in the number of day and light hours. It is only at the equinoxes, the vernal and the fall equinoxes, where righteousness occurs. Or, stated differently, where there is an equal number of day and light time hours. Y'all got me? It is only at the equinoxes that there are 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of night. This is the evenness, the balance. This is justice. This is righteousness. This is concrete. This is concrete natural phenomena from which the abstract concept of justice and righteousness and equality have their origin. Y'all hear that? Think about that. Correlate that with the paradigm of our people. Concrete. It is not abstract. Okay? All right, so let's move to the next point. Our ancestors started their year, the beginning of the year occurred at the vernal equinox. In other words, the year started off with righteousness. 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of nighttime. The year started off with equality, evenness or symmetry. That's how it began. Okay? As the sun begins to ascend during spring and summer, it ascends higher and higher and higher, and the number of daylight hours increases. And the number of daylight hours gradually becomes more and more, or higher and higher, or greater than the number of nighttime hours, until the sun reaches its highest point in the sky, which is somewhere around June 24th, maybe 25th. At this position, the sun is called the Christ. It's reached its highest point in its path, in its annual path. Y'all got that? It is called the Christ. So in other words, that's the maximum number of daylight hours that will occur during the year, and the minimum number of nighttime hours or dark hours. Y'all got that? So there's imbalance. That is the most extreme imbalance, the most extreme unrighteousness, injustice. Y'all see? Or in other words, if you're in the Americas during the winter, you're getting very little daylight hours. But if you're on the other side of the world, let's say down in Brazil, you got a whole lot of daylight hours. You see? Think of it that way. It's not fair that in America, or in, let's say, North America rather, you have so many hours of darkness, but in the South America, they have so many daylight hours. That's not fair. Try to remember it that way. Okay? It's not fair, therefore it's not just. It's an injustice. It's an imbalance, etc. This is just a memory aid. Look at it that way. Now, from June 25, the sun will descend southward, and gradually the number of nighttime hours will increase. All right? Gradually the number of nighttime hours will increase. So what? The injustice is becoming less and less. In other words, the number of daylight hours and nighttime hours are beginning to balance out. Y'all got that? They're beginning to balance out until finally the sun will be at 0 degrees on the equator again in the fall. See, we say fall because the sun is descending or the sun is falling. All right? As the sun falls, the number of nighttime hours increase. Okay? All right. Hence, when the sun is back at 0 degrees on this celestial equator, we have 12 hours of light and 12 hours of dark. So Christ did return, right? He said he would return. He did return. And he did bring justice. He did execute justice on earth. Why? Because now there's 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night again. So Christ came back. The sun will then fall below the celestial equator in the fall, and the number of nighttime hours will gradually increase until they reach their maximum number, and the number of daylight hours will decrease until it reaches its minimum. This is going to be around December 22nd, 23rd. All right. So this is hell, guys. September 29th is the opening of the gates of hell when the sun passes. Well, on December 29th, the sun has now entered and is passing through the gates of hell. And December 22nd, 23rd, as you should remember by now, the sun reaches its lowest point in its annual travel. And this is called what? The bottomless pit, dense darkness, and all of that stuff that you were taught to associate with Satan and there being a physical hell. All right? That's where all of this stuff comes from. So now, why is Christ crucified important? Because Christ crucified has preserved for us the beginning of the year according to our ancient ancestors or our ancient mothers and fathers' traditions, their culture, their way of thinking, evenness and symmetry began the year. So what I want to assert, recommend, is that every Yasharala man, woman, every more man and woman begin from this day forward to start their new year at the autumn equinox. This is in accordance with Exodus chapter 20, verse 12, right? Honor your ancient foremothers and your ancient forefathers so that it will go well with you on the earth, right? That the Most High has given you. Y'all got that? So we have to change our reference. Stop starting your year on January 1st. It is unnatural and is not our ancestors' way. So you must return to the Most High by developing that mindset of our ancient ancestors, following natural law. I hope you guys learned something from this discussion. I hope you will actually think about it, make your own decisions, research, and then implement it in your life and your family's life. The free PDF is in the description area of this video to the Devil's Pulpit. Download it, print it, bind it, read it every day as a matter of habit. Okay, as a matter of habit. Read it with the dictionary next to you, because you will need a dictionary and also a lexicon. All right, a Strong's lexicon or any lexicon you want. Make sure you read it with both of those tools. All right. Anyway, drop your comments in the comments section. Whether you agree or you disagree, if you disagree, put it in the comment section and I will give it serious consideration. As I always say, I don't know everything and I never position myself as knowing everything. So if you got something, let me know and I'll give it consideration. And y'all make it do what it do. I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. All right. Anything you want from me in terms of literature, books, you can get links to all of my books in the description area of this video. If you want to help me in my work, you can get the links in the description area of this video, y'all. All right. So, Islam to all the Moors. Islam to all the Moors, and Shalom to the entire house of Yasharal. Y'all see I got my book with me. You see that? I got my book with me. I went to the park and took a walk, and I decided to do this video. All right. So don't throw away your New Testament. There are gems in there that help us culturally. But anyway, make it do what it do.